Record. All right.
Are we good?
That recording in progress.
All right. Hey, welcome to the Fine Print. My name's Caleb Teskey, and I'm joined today by Tito Bern from Bern Gallery in Burlington. Tito, thank you for being here with me.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I like to kick it off with a little segment I call 5-Minute Life Story, where you tell everybody a little bit about your background and how you came to own the Bern Gallery in Burlington.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So how far back you want me to go?
All the way. I don't care. Make it a 10-minute life story.
Well, I was born in Brazil. I lived in Spain a little bit when I was a real little kid, and then went to high school in New Jersey and moved up to Vermont when I was 18 after I graduated high school. And I went to UVM for a very, very short time and actually ended up dropping out and moving to the countryside in Shoreham, Vermont. And that's actually when I got introduced to glass blowing. And I got into glass blowing, and then I met my wife, Michaela, my future lifetime, and she got into the glass blowing with me, and we started a company called Bern Glass, and well, it's called Bern Systems actually in the beginning, and we traveled all around the Northeast selling glass out of our van for about 5 years, doing 1,500 miles a week, and getting really in tune with the glass scene in the Northeast. And then during that time, we opened the Bern Gallery, and that was a crazy time. We actually used to close for 2 days of the week. We'd unload all the shelves of glass into our van, hit the road for 2 days, come back at night, unload, and open in the morning. And it was an intense lifestyle, but and so we opened the Bern Gallery, and then quickly after that, we created Pipe Classic, which was the first pipe making competition in the world, and still the longest running. And the whole time I was growing cannabis, I've grown cannabis for myself since I was 18 years old. But that's not something I ever talked about. And then I operated the Bern Gallery. We had a wholesale company too called Bern Glass Wholesale, which we actually operated for. It was the wholesale company Michaela and I started in the beginning, evolved into a more formal wholesale company where we stopped traveling on the road in our van, and we started going to national trade shows and selling our glass all over the country. We actually opened up a studio of glass blowers. We were making our own glass. And we actually decided to close that company down. It was just so hard to compete with overseas competition at that point for any kind of like basic, what glass blowers would call production, spoons and oneys and stuff like that.
Yeah, those Indians crank them out quick and cheap.
It was actually China back then was the first one to really smack us down. I mean, I remember being at a trade show and selling a spoon for $15 wholesale, and then seeing a booth next to us where they were selling something comparable. I mean, it really got freaky when they started getting really good. In the beginning, it was like, oh, well, if you want that, that kind of garbage, glass, and you can pay real little and get something like that. But if you want real quality, you get American made. Then, towards the later years, their quality started getting good too. It was like, holy crap, this is ridiculous. It was decently made pipe, not perfect, but decent. And instead of $15, it would be $1.50.
Wow. So
it was like, it was just impossible to compete with that. And so we decided to close that company. That was a crazy experience. And then just to focus on the Bern Gallery, and that's what we did. And I feel like we've grown the Bern Gallery now to become a great place.
How long have you been down there?
Since 2004.
Wow. Okay. Now, I understand. I did a little homework on you. Is it true that you used to sell bongs door to door?
Yeah, I did actually. In the dorms, I used to go door to door through the dorms because I knew them all because I was a college student there, and in the very beginning, I did do that, and I'd have a backpack full, like this bag full of bongs that my buddy made, and I did. I went around selling them like that. That was crazy. That's funny. How'd you get that? That was great. I don't know how you would have known that.
Well, I have my ways.
That was
I'll
good.
tell you later.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you too, tell me a little bit more about the Pipe Classic, because that seems like something that's super cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. And it's basically the pipe scene didn't have a competition. Like, you look at like the skating scene and pretty much any scene, there's always a competition that it's really just a celebration of whatever that sport or activity is. And the pipe scene never had anything like that. So it seemed like a perfect fit. And I was a fan of this cheesy movie called North Shore. It was like a cheesy surf movie. And in the movie, the main character is a kid from Arizona, and he goes to surf in this competition in Hawaii, and it's called the Pipe Classic. And well,
Oh yeah.
it was actually called the Pipeline Classic. And so my friends and I, when we were first blowing glass in the beginning, we always would joke about that movie. And so when we came up with the competition, we're like, the Pipe Classic, it's perfect, it's got to be. And it was at this funny time where the internet was still just barely, getting going as far as being in people's everyday lives. And so the domain name Pipe Classic was not owned by anybody. There was nobody had it. It didn't even exist. The Pipe Classic became the Billabong Pipe Pro. And so the term Pipe Classic, nobody was using it at all. And so it was perfect. And so we're like, let's have a pipe making competition. And I wanted to make the artists feel like they were rock stars at this event. It was like the whole event, everybody coming just to see them, and only 3 artists compete at a time. And it ended up drawing the best of the best. I mean, like the best pipe makers on earth, and it always has. And this year will be the 15th year, and actually, because of what's happening with legalization and the new direction that we're going, we've actually decided that this will be the final Pipe Classic.
Okay. And do you get a
We're
lot of
calling it.
do you get a lot of local guys to participate?
No, it's
No.
it's a very national event. There's a few there's a couple of Vermonters who have competed, but that's because they're the best of the best. Kirby and Hickory, namely.
Sure. Now, I want to ask you, you've been in Burlington a long time, and obviously this legalization movement has taken a long time to proceed here. How were you embraced by the Burlington community when you first moved in as opposed to now?
I would say like almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
I feel like we were always embraced very well. We haven't really been running it in the last few years, but we have a hookah bar that we'd set up in front of the store.
Oh shit.
And right when we were like first starting that, because it was like all the soldiers were coming back from Iraq, and they were coming back with these hookah habits. Like, I guess evidently when they were over there, they'd smoke hookah a lot, and it's kind of faded out now, it seems like. But it was a big thing back then, so we were like, let's, we're a brand new company trying to stay alive any way we can, and here's a demand, and we have this side in front. Let's open a hookah bar, and we did, and wasn't super crazy about that. That was the only thing that they really pushed back on in all the years we've been here. But in the end, they came around to the hookah bar, and we actually decided to end it kind of more organically than anything else. But I went in, I talked to city council members, and in the end, everybody agreed that it was fine. So that's the only thing I can even think of. Everything else has been so smooth. Getting glass blowing, having glass blowing in the store. Sorry, I'm getting like a
I'll
phone
flash
call.
your logos up there. I don't care. There you go. Get it in.
Sorry.
I heard you actually had some pushback from the other pipe shops in town.
Well, I mean, we've done a pretty good job of selling pipes down here. I don't think they're too psyched. But we've always gotten along. It was the actual live glass blowing, doing the live glass blowing in the store, that took a long time to set up. That was like, I was young. I was only like, what was I, like 24 years old or something like that. And so like navigating the whole Department of Public Works process and getting the the zoning and all of the building permits and all that stuff to get the glass blowing going was really daunting. And but everyone supported. No, we didn't even get pushed back for that. You know, but yeah. I had one of the other store owners actually wish death on me once.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, that was something else. Yeah, I
You
couldn't
must
believe
have
it.
you must have a good product.
I guess so. I thought we were friends too. It was like, damn, I know we're competition, but fucking death threat, dude, that was cold. But then it turned out that he was actually going through some personal stuff, and we made up after that. But
Oh, that's nice of you.
yeah, there was the other. Yeah, it was more of the drama in between other stores. I feel like there was a ton of that. That's for sure. But we try to always kind of just stay the course, do our thing, and get to tomorrow.
Cool. Now let me ask you, was retail cannabis sales, is that something that you've been planning sort of the whole time, or is that something where you just saw an opportunity and said, hey, we should, I have this gallery, we should move in that direction?
No, I didn't think that. I didn't think this was all going to happen by now. I thought like legalization might happen sometime when I was like an old man, maybe, But I didn't think any of this was going to happen. But um, I also was a grower before a retailer, so to me it's like the grow aspect of legalization is the most exciting thing for me. The retail is just it's what we do, it's what the team does, and I feel like you kind of got to have a retail component if you're going to be really well rounded.
Sure. Did you do the pre-qualification application?
Yeah, we did the pre-qualification for the retail, but we did not do the pre-qualification for the grow because we're just doing our actual application.
Oh, so you have to file separately for both of those licenses?
Yes.
Yeah. And which licenses are you applying for?
I'm applying for a tier 2 grow
Okay.
and retail.
Okay, cool. Now I want to talk, you touched on some of the zoning issues and some of the permitting issues. And I know you said you solved this stuff, but you were having some trouble with it. Could you tell us a little bit about the issues that you were having with the zoning?
Yeah, the issues with that were that just, nobody knew anything. Everybody was super confused. Everybody, the very first time I went in for the zoning, for the grow, it was great. I went in, I was talking to the select board, and one of the members just looked at me. He's like, "Well, I don't get it. Why are you even here? Why, just do it." And I was like, "Well, I wish it was that easy." I was like,
Yeah.
we can't. There's like there's a whole process to this, and so just nobody knows anything. And so with the zoning, the staff of the zoning board just thought there was going to be endless holdups. But then we went in and we like they'd have lots of questions, and then they would issue what's called a continuance. And we went in and it went great. But I think it only went great because I had an answer for every single question they asked. If I didn't have an answer for every single question they asked, I can guarantee you I would have got a continuance.
Yeah. You seem very knowledgeable, and I assume as a business owner, you're familiar with a lot of these regulations.
Well, I'm super familiar with growing, and and so I've grown for myself for a really long time, but I've also been part of the medical program for a really long time too. So I've been able to expand my medical facility and really learn a lot. And so a lot of the questions they had, especially in zoning, it's the basics. They want to know about odor control. They want to know about wastewater. They want to know about stormwater runoff. They want to know about water usage. That's like the stuff they want to know. So like, if you have an answer to every single one of those types of questions, you'll be fine.
So tell me a little bit about the water usage, because that's something I'm particularly interested in.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so psyched at where this has gone because it's been a huge problem. So I grow no-till living soil in beds, and so I use RO water. Typically you don't want to use RO water because, it's so corrosive. And if you're watering through your plants, it'll literally just pull the elements right out of the soil, right out of your medium. But
Really?
because I use it will. But because I use no-till beds, there's actually no runoff at all. So the water just goes in and never comes out. And it's really awesome. And so, but I always use this reverse osmosis water, and the RO water, you'll know if you use it, has a ton of wastewater, like a ton. So it just wasn't viable to use it commercially. So I found this awesome device. I'm psyched with it so far, called the ARCS. It's the Automated Reclaimed Condensate System by Hydrologic, and it captures the condensate water and then purifies it. So basically, the condensate water from all my dehumidifiers and my heat pumps, that water drains into a giant reservoir. Then it passes through this machine, which takes out any heavy metals which might have leached into the water. It also has a sediment filter, and then it puts back just a little bit of calcium carbonate, which that part, I'm not sure if I want to keep that or not, but you can actually take that right out of the system if you want. And then it goes through a UVC light filter, and then out the other end, and the water is ready to go.
Oh.
So what's greener than that?
Oh, what do you do with the metals that you've removed?
It's in a filter. So then that filter, I'll have to dispose of that. However, the recommended disposal procedure is, but it's not that big. It's like, it's about the size of your arm.
Cool. I wanted to ask you about some of the other energy efficiency requirements, because I know they're pushing for, efficient lights and things of that nature. And if you've got the grow facility, I assume you know a thing or two about that, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
For sure. So I've been doing lighting testings for years now while getting ready for this very moment. And so first I used just regular HPS, but I've used I used cell halide as well as regular metal halide even back in the day. And then I started using LEDs. I was trying out these various LEDs from a brand called Acuity. And now looking back on it, those are really primitive compared to what I'm going to use now. And then I tested Fluence and Gavita in side-by-side LED testing, but the one that reigns superior above them all is the Phos. And I got a Phos A3i also that I was testing in comparison. So I had two Fluence, two Gavitas, a Phos A3i, and a double ender HPS, all in the same room, kind of doing tests with that. And the Phos A3i is just, aside from being like just an incredibly sexy piece of equipment, it's like you could tell that they've put a lot of thought into it. And I mean, you could practically put it through a car wash. And the way its control is just so amazing, and it's also 1,500 watts in, as opposed to a lot of LEDs go more like 500 watts in, or 600 or 700 watts in, because they can still give you the equivalent of 1,000 watt. But the testing I did on this with the Phos, with the 1,500 watts in, actually ended up yielding 30% more than the Gavita.
Now, is your cultivation facility, is that something you've built from the ground up, or did you lease an already existing facility?
No, I wanted to build it from the ground up so bad, but I don't have a backer, so we didn't have that option. It was just going to cost way too much.
So you're financing this all yourself?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, well, a very small amount from my brothers, from direct family. We sold 3%. We raised just a 3% of the company, so a very small amount. And that felt almost more like, kind of fun to just get everybody involved.
And that's your family?
Yeah, those are my brothers and my wife's brother.
Your wife also, is she involved in the company?
Oh yeah, I mean, 100%. We've built the company together for sure.
That's nice. I've seen a lot of that recently with the family-owned businesses, which I appreciate personally.
Yeah, cool.
Tell me a little bit about like the electrical and the HVAC sort of requirements, because I know a lot of people are dealing with those kind of issues.
Yeah, so I mean, using LEDs and using Quest dehumidifiers, we've definitely minimized our electricity use. So that was really good. But look, you can't. There's this at the end of that's for sure. but
Oh, I'm losing you a little bit, Tito.
based instead of the what's that?
I was losing it. You were breaking up a little bit.
Oh,
Sorry.
bummer. Yeah, I feel like I lost you for a second there too.
That's all right. Go ahead.
And so so we hold on. You know what I'm gonna do? I think I'm gonna
Do your thing, man.
yeah. I'm just gonna put the do not disturb on the
Sure.
on there. Okay, so I think each time I might be getting a call in or a
Yeah,
notification.
cool.
But so we instead of building a building from scratch, we repurposed a building that used to be some kind of auto shop. And so we saved a ton of money because it already had infrastructure. It's already got all the outlets and power to the building, even though we did have to increase it.
Sure. Yeah, my buddy down at Forbin's, they just bought up an old lettuce company. So
Yeah, Nick's
Yeah.
awesome. I love Nick, and he's a great grower for sure.
yeah, we're gonna be hearing from him soon, which I'm looking forward to. I also wanted to talk to you about the banking piece of this, because I know right now is everybody's wondering what's going on with that. And we've just seen a merger of the two largest credit unions in Vermont. And yeah, what are your thoughts on that subject?
So frustrated. We actually we were growing hemp last year under Bern Living Organics, our new company, and so we were told that that's we could get a bank account. We can get a bank account if we're growing hemp and we have a commercial hemp license. We can get a bank account. So we finally got our commercial hemp license, and then we go back to the bank and they said, well, if you're going to become a cannabis company, we still can't give you your hemp license. And just totally like I was beside myself. I didn't even know what to do. Very frustrated. And so till this point, we don't have a bank account yet.
Wow. Who was that bank that you were working with or trying to?
It was New England Federal Credit Union.
Wow. If you had to pick one of those two, would you go with the flat fee at 1.5% that VSECU is offering, or the tiered? You have multiple licenses, so that would be $2,500 a month for you through any FCU. Which one looks like the better option here?
I think only because we have such limited funds right now. It's like at least the one, if they take a percentage of sales, I don't have to pay anything till I'm making sales. I don't know yet. But that way at least I'm not paying for months and months without doing anything. Yeah, really frustrating stuff.
Have you been in contact with any of the people from the banks?
Not since they denied us our hemp license.
Wow.
Yeah, which was several months ago. But now that we've gotten our pre-qualification application in for the retail, as soon as we hear back if we get it approved, we'll definitely open a bank right away.
That seems odd that because hemp is legal now and they're still denying applications for bank accounts for that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. If you're going to become a cannabis company specifically.
Wow. So if you were just going to do hemp, they'd let you stay.
Yes.
Huh. Boy, that's we'll get back to that later. But
I know.
I want to keep this going. I want to ask you a little bit about acquiring insurance, because initially, I thought a while back the board was saying, "Hey, you're going to need X amount of insurance, like $1 million of liability," and now it seems recently that they've been saying you need a commercially reasonable amount of insurance, which it seems kind of vague to me. And I'm wondering if it might set up a situation where people are sort of set up to fail because they don't know the correct amount. Because there's really no historic data. I mean, there's a couple other states doing this, but how's the insurance search going?
Yeah, now I'm even a little more confused because we were actually talking insurance right before we got on the call with you, and my coworker was saying that the only requirement was $50,000 of liability.
Huh.
I mean,
That
just
sounds way low.
it sure does to me too. So I don't know. I guess I'm really confused, but I'm going to have some answers by the end of the day because we need to move on that component right away. We got to have our application in next week. So we're going to have to secure insurance for sure
Are there companies in
in the
Vermont
next
that
few
are
days.
offering insurance that you know of?
There's well, I've used Williston Insurance forever, and so I actually called over there earlier today, so I'm hoping to hear back from them. And then some other ones are Charles River Insurance. I'm not sure where they're based out of, and M Broker Insurance, but I know they're not from Vermont.
Okay. We'll have to definitely follow up on that later, because I'd really like to know more about that. And I'm sure a lot of other people would as well.
For sure.
Can we talk a little bit about testing? Because that's I saw one of the labs at the Headies there, the BIA Diagnostics or whatever.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the testing requirements, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, the Baya is who we've used as well, and we've had okay. It's been a good experience. We've been we've been testing our strains over the last few years, and I think testing is it's crucial. I think that retail customers are going to want to see those labs for sure on every single thing they buy. It's just going to become like the way it is. And so insurance is a key component of all that, or rather, testing is a key component of all that.
Now, when they test, what are they testing for?
It depends what you pay for. You can either pay for just a cannabinoid test, or just a terpene profile test, or both, heavy metals as well, and then the other option is molds.
Pesticides?
Yeah, there is a pesticide, but I'm growing everything myself, so I know that
Sure.
there's nothing in there.
Is the
I
state?
only
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say that the only integrated pest management that we use is a product called Pure Crop One, which is ultra safe and predatory bugs, namely Amblysis andersoni.
Is the state requiring any sort of pesticide testing?
I don't know.
All right, cool. I love an I don't know
Yeah,
moment. Something to
I
look into.
think so. I think so. I think they are. I think you have to do like a full panel testing on every strain you grow. I think that's the deal.
And how much does that cost?
The full panel testing is like $250 probably per strain, because I was paying 175 per test and I was getting terpenes and cannabinoids. So it's got to be more than that. It's probably like 250 or something for the full panel.
And how much do you have to send them to test?
Like an eighth, like that. Like an eighth or quarter.
That's
That's
not
not
bad.
too much.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you also about the escrow piece of this. That seems like that's been up in the air. And they said anything over tier 1, their applicants are going to have to submit documentation of bond or escrow for a cessation of operations. Do you know anything about that piece?
No, I can't comment on that yet.
All right. All right. I also wanted to ask you, I know you don't have kids. I remember you told me that, but there's been a lot of talk about child safety and keeping this out of the hands of kids. How, first of all, personally to me, I think that's a little ridiculous because this is an adult use market and kids are already smoking. I was smoking when I was 12, but as a business owner, how do you handle that situation?
Yeah, I just always do whatever the law tells me to do. I'm a team player in that way. Owning a smoke shop for so long, we just always card. It's just what we do. We have a flawless record as well. We always card. We don't sell to underage people, and that's where it really begins and ends for me. I think that everybody needs to chill out with the kids. I mean, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, and also like what kind of kids are we talking about? Because like, little kids, like little kids, like, granted, I guess edibles I understand, but like flower, I mean, the little kid's going to have to go through quite a bit to actually like heat that flower up and smoke and consume it. I don't think like that's, something like little children could even do. But and then, as far as like, your high school kids and stuff, I mean, yeah, you want to, you got to be responsible parents, right? I think that's where that falls.
That's actually, I'm trying to remain journalistically neutral on this, but I certainly believe that the parents are firmly in control of that. And, the state's going to take all this money to the excise tax to support prevention and whatnot, which I don't think is maybe the best use of that money. I think this is a parenting issue as well. But
I mean, I think alcohol is way worse. And I mean, almost everybody's home's got the liquor cabinet and I mean, it's like, I think that's way worse. And alcohol definitely does create a lot of problems in the world, actually. But, we're, as a society, everybody seems to manage.
yeah, and I mean, we've watched, how many new breweries pop up in Vermont I
Oh,
swear,
yeah.
I'm a bartender, and people are always asking me about these new breweries. It's like I haven't heard of that.
Yeah.
Every day.
The nature of cannabis is so peaceful that I hate to even comparing the two. I don't, because a lot of people do compare alcohol and cannabis kind of the way I just did, and I almost wish I didn't, because I don't like that. It's like they're so different. The nature of cannabis is peaceful and full of love, where the nature of alcohol can be wild and unpredictable.
Domestic violence and
That's one way. Everybody makes it, turns out like a bad case. I mean, there's plenty of people I'm sure that use it, that drink and don't get crazy, but
sure.
it's a lot easier to get into trouble with alcohol than
Yeah, when
cannabis.
the whole gateway drug conversation is really just kind of worn out for me, because all of the
Oh,
worst
the
all of
worst.
the worst decisions I've ever made have been when I was drinking.
Yeah, because alcohol is the gateway drug that everybody's always blamed it on cannabis. I mean, when you smoke a joint, you actually like kind of think twice and might think a little deeper about what you're about to do. But I mean, give me a couple drinks, get out of my way. I mean,
We're going driving. Yeah.
yeah, right. I mean,
Yeah.
you're down for
Uh,
anything.
and that brings me to another great point, and I don't want to sound biased here, but in terms of smoking joints, I had a lot of joints passed to me at the Headies the other day, and boy, whatever you handed me was just probably some of the tastiest shit I've ever encountered in my life, man. Um,
Cool. Yeah, that was my pineapple kush.
yeah, and you said you're flowering at like 32% or something.
That's on the Dope Dog. We have a strain called Dope Dog that tested at 32%.
Okay.
We're not growing up, but it's super exciting.
Okay, cool. So that brings me to my point about the THC caps, because I read some of your comments about that, man. Share your thoughts on that subject, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, they're the worst. And the THC caps are just like, that's like I feel like that's just keeping one foot in the old world. It's like it's totally counterproductive in every way. It's not going to work. And it's just going to keep the black market raging.
Yeah, and don't you think in a way that sort of punishes the really talented growers?
Oh, of course, especially there's all the growers who love making like amazing rosin, and yeah, I mean that sucks if that's like the way you like your plants to be experienced, and that's a huge way that many people choose to smoke it or consume it. So yeah, it just sucks all around. Really stifling.
And it seems like that's also if they impose the cap on like vape carts, like 60%, I believe was the proposal. It's like, doesn't that sort of encourage people to water down their product with various other, I don't even know what people are putting in there. But it seems like that's going to encourage people to water it down with all kinds of things.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the whole vape cart, even that, because that also then starts wrapping up the vape tax into things. The vape tax is like this super bizarre thing that happened where, it was intended to stop Juuls in high school, which, I think we can all agree it's like, yeah, Jules in high school, terrible thing, like it is just no good in it. But the wording they used in the vape tax was so broad that it can be interpreted to apply to anything that even uses the word vape, or even appears like a vape that might not even be one. It's really incredibly frustrating, and the tax was to destroy, a
How much is the,
92% tax.
oh, so that's what, like with the nicotine, or I believe that's,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
wow.
intended for tobacco.
Yeah, that's
So
insane.
you're right. So, but the current dispensaries don't pay the vape tax on. So it's very unclear as So if a product is intended for cannabis, then it should automatically just not be included in this vape tax. But the wording is unclear with that, so that's a major problem. And
Okay.
then the carts themselves, the actual carts, there was it was like right before COVID, I think, where there was um, all this there's some people going to the hospital for bizarre things. Now, of course, they're talking about like the nicotine vapes that you see people like blowing like the clouds of vapor, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then but then even in some off-market cannabis vape carts, they were saying that because it was cut with oh man, now I'm gonna forget, what was it
Vitamin
cut with?
E or something I
Yeah,
saw.
vitamin E acetate, right? It was cut with that. And so we actually stopped selling carts altogether for a really long time.
Wow.
Um, and we just started selling carts again from Grayson, who what's the name of Grayson's company? I got Sarah May sitting here next to me.
Yeah, that name rang
He's
a
a,
bell.
he's Vermont. He's a great dude. Yeah, you probably met him. He's always at all the local events. He has some partners, and they make a great product. And he um, tells you everything that's in the cart. It's really cool. I'm really happy working with him.
Yeah,
Oh, his company name is Extract Vermont.
okay, cool. Yeah, personally as a consumer, I like to see those testing results, I'm a
Oh yeah.
cussy, I always have been, but it gives me, especially with the edibles, because I have psoriatic arthritis and I like it for the joint relief. But the edibles can get weird
Mhm.
if they're not very carefully measured.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying
Love
to
a good
smoke
edible
less.
scrap.
I'm trying to smoke less, so I've been getting a lot of tinctures and edibles, and it's been great, really. Um,
Yeah, it's a different
nobody,
experience though, isn't it?
yeah, it sure is. But it's nice when it's carefully measured, because my homie back home is just like, here, I made these cookies. They're not that strong, but it's like, I know if I eat half that cookie, I'm gonna be at
Oh
home
yeah.
glued to the couch for 3 hours.
Oh yeah. If you ever want to go for a really fun ride, my wife and I discovered something over time where if you take some kief and all right, follow me on this one. You take some kief and you decarboxylate it. You know that process where you decarboxylate kief. You have to just heat it up for a little while at like very specific temperature, and then you can buy like little capsules, like you're going to make your own capsules. And you can and so we would just pack those capsules full of keef in there, and then you just swallow it after it's decarboxylated, and you will have a 24-hour experience that you did not know cannabis could give you.
Holy shit. That sounds intense.
It was. We stopped doing that a while ago, but oh man,
Yeah.
that was fun.
I also wanted to ask you about your thoughts on these big Curaleafs and those type of companies moving into Vermont. Do you think that's going to be a threat to the small operators in the state, or do you think that the amount of competition will sort of level out?
Yeah, I think well, it's starting to seem like those big companies are having a really bad start. That's for sure. I haven't even heard that that Slang is gonna even set up in this 5 month head start time period. Um, but when I think of craft cannabis as opposed to big cannabis, there's a huge difference because again, people like to um, compare it to alcohol, and I want to even like maybe go even further because um, I want to go further in explaining why it's not a good analogy. Because in the alcohol world, they'll compare it like Budweiser to like a craft brew, right? Except both of those products can travel and store really well and really easily for a pretty long period of time. But cannabis does not store well and it does not travel well. So I think that if you're a regular cannabis smoker, you're just going to know the difference between mass commercially grown cannabis and a craft cannabis bud. Whereas you might not be able to tell the difference because of the bottling procedure with alcohol. So I think that craft small growers in Vermont are going to do great, and they're going to do great over a really, really long period of time. And I think that the CCB's rule about one license per person is going to really help that. And I think that we're looking good.
Sure. Do you think, and I know I actually also sort of like their rules. This was a point someone mentioned to me the other day, though, is there's no cap on the number of dispensaries. And he thought sort of if you flood the market with dispensaries, that would create a situation where nobody's making money. Do you see that as being a problem?
No, because I don't think that they're going to do the what's that word called when you honor a medical card from another state?
Oh,
Specific word.
it's like gun rights where you can bring your gun to another state.
I
Oh,
can't
shit.
remember that. Is
Uh,
like it's not reciprocity. Maybe it was
yes, it is.
reciprocity, but so yeah, maybe. Okay, so I don't think that we're going to have that. So basically, a medical dispensary can only sell to somebody with a Vermont medical license.
And there's not a lot of those people.
No,
It's like
not at all.
5,000 maybe.
Yeah, but I would imagine you're going to see a big increase in that number because if they don't have to pay sales tax.
Sure. And you're a medical caretaker, is that correct?
Yeah, I am.
Someone just told me that right before we talked.
Mhm.
What does that involve? You growing at home, or how does that work?
Yeah, I've grown at home in my my small home setup, and I grow cannabis for a patient.
Yeah, and that's someone, I assume in Vermont, the rules are very strict. Like you have to be dying basically to get a medical card.
No, not anymore. No, not anymore. That's just chronic pain gets you a card.
Well, I have the psoriatic arthritis and I can't get it because my doctor is federally funded, and there seems to be a lot of those type of
Ah,
doctors around the state. And yeah,
fascinating. That
yeah.
sucks.
Okay, cool. So you didn't know about that. All right. Yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't.
they won't
No, my
even
doctor's
talk to
super
me.
cool. Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah, and although I've heard of all these issues with the medical dispensaries around Vermont having mold issues and powder mildew
Oh yeah.
issues, and I mean, honestly, I get better bud from my homies that grow in their basement,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'd rather
But you can
not.
call I'd ask Jessie Lynn Dolan and talk to her, and she's got a whole list of holistic doctors too that you can see, and they can write you the prescription.
Okay, cool. Um, yeah, I also wanted to, boy, I wanted to get back to the application thing because it seems like the board is way behind the eight ball on this thing
Yeah.
in terms of processing applications, and they've got over 600 now. I think they were like, yeah, we processed two. Um, w- w- tell me,
Yeah.
tell me what you think of Tito.
I don't know. I mean, I really like them all. I really like the whole board. I think they're all cool. I get along with all of them really well. And I think they're doing their best. I think that you know, they're going to have the same problems almost every other business is having. It's just hard to find employment. It's just hard to find staff. And so yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. But you know what? I've been ready for any scenario, whatever situation happens. I I've prepared myself for all the situations that could happen. So if the start date is October 1st, I'm ready for that. If the start date is December 1st, I'm ready for that. And that's what I think everybody needs to do is you got to just be adaptable in your planning, realize that everything is fluid and nothing is set in stone yet. And I don't even technically even have any license yet. I don't have a pre-qualification license. I don't have a regular license. I don't have anything.
Yeah,
So, I realize a ton of people are in that situation. And so, it's like this, you're preparing for the unknown. as far as starting businesses go, this has been one of like the scariest, most trying things I've ever been through. It's like every single week is some incredible, potentially devastating problem that I never even thought of. And that's every single week for like the last 2 years.
And so you have to, I see you commenting at the board meetings. Have you been following all of the board meetings?
Yeah, unless I couldn't make it. Like I got COVID through in there.
Oh, shit.
I missed a couple weeks of meetings from COVID. And then but I try to be on every meeting I can be. I'm on most.
That's just got to be a huge time commitment for you, huh?
It absolutely is. It was really, really intense in the beginning when we didn't know when the CCB was meeting. They changed the dates every week, and then sometimes a meeting would be an hour, sometimes a meeting would be 6 hours, and you just would never know. And yeah, it was really frustrating. And also, I was on the Marijuana for Symptom Relief Oversight Committee meetings as well before that, and that's a whole thing where we were fighting on there constantly. Amelia and Jesse Lynn and Jeff from Vermont Growers and Fran. And we were on there all the time. What was going on there was really, really some disheartening stuff on that board. That was some scary stuff.
Well, I talked to Jeff actually, Tulo, I don't know.
Yeah.
He was telling me how the originally the advisory committee was only supposed to have 12 people on it. They expanded it to 14, I guess, based on some of his lobbying. And those extra seats were supposed to go to medical patients, and then ended up going to other people that I'll talk about in a different interview. But
they were so gung ho on not having growers having a seat at the MS Rock table, the Marijuana for Symptom Relief Oversight Committee. They were so hell bent on not having growers at that table that they were going to change the definition of caregiver to not mean somebody who grows cannabis for you. Like that's a thing that happened. That was a thing, and we stopped that in their tracks, and that was like one of our biggest victories. I feel like they were that was just totally up to no good. The whole meeting was mostly dominated by Champlain Valley Dispensary staff, and under the guise of their bullshit Vermont Cannabis Trades Association, which isn't even a thing. And yeah, incredibly frustrating.
What do you know about the Cannabis Trade Association? Because I'm curious about that.
Oh, I can give you a real good inside view of that one because I was there in the very beginning. So they start talking about this Vermont Cannabis Trades Association. It's going to be, they're welcoming all these businesses, come be a part of it. And they had these meetings. It was like, oh wow, we're actually meeting and talking about it, and it was kind of cool. I mean, I tried to be involved in everything. I tried to be involved in every single person's scene in cannabis. I was trying to not pick sides and just do my thing. And it was going okay. And then all of a sudden the meetings just stopped. And I was like, all right, well, I guess that, didn't end up working out. But because I had to, because when you get your medical license, you have to claim a dispensary as your personal dispensary.
Right.
And so I did that. I chose Champlain Valley Dispensary. And so I get their emails. So their emails, they send out like, once every couple of weeks or once a week, I can't remember. And they're still talking about the Vermont Cannabis Trades Association. Like it's a thing. And I was like, what the fuck is that?
When was this? When did they start talking about this?
This is a long time ago. This is before COVID. This is like probably 4 years ago at this point.
Okay. I just wanted to get the timeline.
Yeah.
Keep going though.
And and so we're in there and so then they stop. I read the emails and I'm like, Vermont Cannabis Trades Association, what the fuck? So I send an email over to Champlain Valley Dispensary and saying, hey, I was all about this Vermont Cannabis Trades Association. I see you're still using this name. Is this still something that we have meetings for? Or, kind of trying to get some answers, and no response. I sent another email again to a different address, no response there either. And then on the Cannabis Control Board's meetings, I see all the representatives from the Vermont Cannabis Trades Association, and touting it like it's a thing, like it's actually a group of businesses that means anything. It was just Champlain Valley Dispensary. I mean, I don't know, maybe one of the other ones is a part of it too, but
and they got a seat on the advisory committee.
Yeah, a whole seat just for them. And also, by the way, and the marijuana for symptom relief oversight committee was also made up of all dispensary people under the guise of
Oh,
the
Jim.
trades association.
Yeah, Jim. I don't remember his last name, but it was
Yeah, Jim.
Megdelia
Oh yeah,
Romanoff.
yeah, Jim Romanoff. That's his name. Yeah, and Meg Delia, absolutely. And then these doctors who, one of them on there called all growers schmoes. She's like, whoa, you think you're gonna have a seat at the table just because you grow a plant? I mean, any schmo can grow a plant, like that. She literally said that out loud on the meeting. I couldn't even believe what I was hearing. It was just wild. It was wild stuff going on.
And I can't help but thinking a couple of growers on the board or the committee would just be super helpful right now.
Oh my God, they didn't even know. They were talking about plants being over 20 feet tall at one point in one of these meetings. They're like, well, you could just grow these plants over 20 feet tall. And, that was a good point that Amelia, I think at that point brought out that, it was like, these people don't even know what they're talking. They literally just don't even know anything about what they're talking about. They just don't know about the plant. They don't know, they know about doctoring, which is super legitimate. But I mean, we're talking about really specific stuff here, and they were clueless.
Yeah, like a guy I met with recently was John Rogers, who's a former senator. John?
Yeah, I do know John. I like John. He's cool dude.
I also like John, and I thought he said he applied to be on the board, and I thought he'd be a perfect guy to be on that board. He's a farmer, he's an old Vermonter, he's got inside information in the industry, and
Perfect.
yeah, right. And instead, and I really like all the members of the board. I've been watching the meetings, and I really do think that they're doing their best job. And I just, it could be better with
Yeah.
somebody, or like somebody like Nick Matei from Forbes, who's HVAC certified, who's an electrician, he's a diesel mechanic, who knows about the finer points of
Yeah.
building a facility or something like that,
Or mostly of all, and most of all, Eli Harrington. I mean, Eli didn't get a spot on anything, and not as a consultant, not anything. I was really bummed by that.
And I thought, I actually used to work with Eli up at Burke Mountain, and I thought for sure that he was pushing for something like that to try to get in on that. And he's one of the most knowledgeable guys I've met. And and look, I mean, James is a smart guy. Julie, I love her input. Kyle has worked in DC, but where's the local input from somebody who really knows their shit here?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. All right, I got a little sidetracked there, but I want to wrap this up soon, but I would like to follow up on a lot of this because this has been fascinating here. One thing that I've been asking everybody is, if you could rewrite the legislation, what would you keep and what would you leave out or change?
Well, I would definitely keep the one license per person or per category. I do think that's really cool. And I would change. I definitely would have had the THC caps go away, and I also 100% would have had the tier 1 be 1,000 square foot flowering canopy. That was a huge defeat in my mind. Like, we worked, I feel like, for like a year and a half, just railing on this one issue, this one issue of having the 1,000 square foot flowering canopy be the craft license, and they didn't do it. So I was really bummed. That's the big one.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for James Pepper? Because I'm going to interview him soon. If you have any questions, I'd like to hear them.
Just when are you going to come in and do some glass blowing? Because yeah, I think I have all my questions answered, and I've been lucky enough to have personal time with him, and he's been awesome. They've all been really giving us, even personally, the attention that we all need. It's been really cool.
He does seem very forthcoming and easy to talk to. Oh wait, there's one other thing. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you about the legal situation with Tim Fair. Is he your guy?
Yeah, he's Vermont Cannabis Solutions.
Tell me a little bit about him, because I'm very wary of lawyers, but everyone I've met so far just has great things to say about them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're in it for the right reasons. I mean, they're in it just to help all of us navigate this, and they've been a tremendous help to me. I'm sending texts constantly. You know, I'm sure I'm pretty annoying at this point. You know, I've I've got at least a million questions and luncheons. I think their luncheons are awesome, and they've kind of become like the premier event every month. Like that's where the cannabis scene gets together.
I was gonna go to one,
And the
but
fact that they've offered that is really great. Yeah,
oh, cool.
you should. Yeah, and but they also I've known Tim. You know, I used to I used to have a drink next door at JP's after work forever. I used to have that tradition, and I'd like have a drink and I'd like play the video games in there or something for like an hour after work every day. And Tim was always sitting in a table. We never talked. I never spoke to him. But he was sitting in this table just right over there. I'd always see him. I'm like, who's this guy in the suit every day? You know, he was really funny. You know, and he looked very interesting. I was like, I don't know what this guy's up to, but you know, he's interesting. And it turned out to be Tim Fair, and he was getting ready to become an attorney, and that's what he was doing all that time. And it was cool to see him then become this. And then when we finally worked together, it was like, hey, you're that guy. You know, we've always known each other. So
Yeah,
that was cool.
he's very gregarious and sociable, which
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of lawyers seem sort of reclusive and alcoholic. You know, it was a pleasure to meet him too. I'm going to line him up here soon, and that
Yeah,
should be
no,
interesting. Yeah.
he's good.
All right, cool. I say we wrap it up here, and thank you so much for your time, man. This has been a great conversation. I really hope we could do it again sometime in the near future.
Breaking.
Nope. Yeah, you're breaking up a little. That's a great way to end it.
Yeah, for sure. I hope you. Oh, it sucks. Yeah. Oh
I
yeah,
know.
I could. We're breaking up at the very end.
It's all good, Tito. This is a learning curve for me too, so we'll deal with the technical bumps as they come at us.
Okay. No, I can hear you now. But yeah, that was awesome, man. Thanks for having me. And I love talking to you. It was cool to meet you the other day. And I'm sure we'll see each other again. And call me anytime.
Yeah, likewise, man. Take care.
You too. See you soon.
All right.
Bye, man.